He is the GOAT himself from the University of Michigan, as well as Oakland and Green Bay. He is none other than Charles Woodson. How are you, Charles?
Rich, man, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So we just showed a clip of you with TB12.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it like with hold on, let's start with this way. First time you met Tom Brady was when, Charles?
Man, that had to be 1995. You know, it's been a long time, man. But I mean, we were freshmen together at Michigan, so it's been a long time ago, Rich.
And now, I mean, so what is it like to see him 24 years later after what you and you accomplished and he is still accomplishing, Charles?
Yeah, man, it was great to, see him and, spend a little time with him. It had been a couple of years, since I really, was able to just sit down and chat with him for a little while. But it's just crazy, to, see him walk in that door, as a six-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, people always ask me all the time, yeah, what did you see in Tom Brady in school? Did you ever think he'd be this good? And, it's just crazy to come, to be here 4 years later and him, being a six-time Super Bowl champ. So, it was fun to just sit and chat with him a little bit, and just try to get inside of his mind a little bit.
So, in terms of getting inside his mind, it seems from what I have heard, you tried to get inside his kitchen a little bit. Did you bring up the tuck rule with him moment, Charles? Did that actually happen, or will we see that tonight on Epix this evening, sir?
Yeah. You kind of got you got to stay tuned to see what happens. But I started it off. With that. So we'll see. You guys have to watch it tonight and see.
That was your opener. That was your opener, Charles.
that was my hello.
How often do you hear about that, Charles Woodson?
About the tuck rule?
Yes, sir.
Man, Rich, I feel like I hear about the tuck rule every day. I feel like it comes up somehow, some way, in some conversation. The tuck rule. I mean, especially when you run into Raider fans on a daily basis, they'll always say it was still a fumble. So, I mean, you can never, ever get away from that play. I'm sure I'll be hearing about that play, for the rest of my life. So, all the time, Rich.
Well, I know you commented on it on Twitter, so I want to get it fresh right here. We had freshly minted Pro Football Hall of Famer Ty Law on the show, recounting that night here. Let's pause our chat for a moment and stroll down this memory lane and get your comment on the other side.
Yeah.
It was funny because after the game, normally every time I play against Charles, we meet up in the parking lot and, just chop it up. But after that game, I'm coming, by his buses. I'm like, where Charles? You know what I mean? He ain't going to come all his boys. So I seen when he came up, I was like, Wood. He walked straight on the bus. So in typical Ty Law fashion, I'm going to go and say, man, you're going to come talk to me, man. It's just a game, even though it was to go to the Super Bowl. So I walked on the bus, on the front of the bus. And I was like, Wood.
You boarded your Raiders bus?
Yeah, I boarded the Raiders bus. And then everybody was sitting there looking. So I said, you ain't come out. He said, man, I ain't with that, man. I ain't with that. And I was like, F y'all did. That's why y'all lost anyway. And I ran off. The whole team about got up, was like, about to try to come chasing me and stuff like that. So I hurried up and ran off the bus.
Oh, man. Dude, Rich, man, that's true story, man. I mean, and it happened exactly that way. I mean, after the game, we're all really pissed off about the game, and everybody's heard my quotes after the game. It was bull. So I was mad, man, because I felt like we were robbed. Raider Nation felt we were robbed. The team grew, and everybody felt we were robbed. And of course, man, I'm not in the mood to talk to anybody. And Ty, everybody knows that's my main man. And it was like I couldn't even look at him, man. So I got on the bus, man, and here he comes, man. He steps up the steps in the front of the bus. Hey, Charlie, what's up, man? I'm like, Ty, man, come on, bro. We ain't doing that today. Oh, all right. Well, that's why y'all lost that. Then he ran off the bus, man. And I'm sitting there like, cause he's my boy. You know what I mean? So everybody on the bus, not only are they looking at him, but then they're looking at me like, man, this dude just came on our bus, talking crazy. Man, dude, that was the insult to injury right there, man. that it hurt so. I mean, it hurt so bad at the moment because we really had a really good team. We went there to New England, played in the snow. You know, coming from California, nobody expects you're going to be able to play in basically a blizzard. And we went out there and we took care of our business. And you know what? We made the play to win the game. And, you know, they overturned the call, of course, everybody knows. And then, you know, they go down, you know, kick a field goal or whatever, and then they kick another field goal in overtime, and game's over, and that's the way it ends. So it stung like, you know, no other game that I've been a part of in my short career at that time. And so, yeah, I was hurt. But that was Ty, man. Ty is like that.
He is like that. Charles Woodson here on the Rich Eisen Show. As for the here and now at the Raiders, I know you're obviously very tight with them. What can you share about Antonio Brown with the fan base here of what exactly happened there, Charles?
You know, I feel like the Oakland Raiders really bent over backwards, you know, to make things work there in Oakland. I mean, there was a lot of things that went on. You know, you had the whole helmet situation. You had, you know, the cryotherapy, you know, situation where all of a sudden he couldn't practice. You had instances of him, you know, just leaving. And the Raiders wanted to make it work. I mean, he's an all-world talent. And, you know, when you're a talented player in any league, you know, you're afforded some exceptions. And so they gave him every exception that you could possibly give a player, expecting that he was going to be a Raider. And then all of a sudden, you know, the reports come out about, you know, him in an altercation with the general manager. And then, man, he releases a video where he's, you know, tape recording the conversations. And so, of course, it reached a level to where it couldn't go any further than that. And so, I mean, that's kind of just the way, just a recap of the way it went down. But I know the Raiders, they bent over backwards to try to have Antonio suit up in the silver and black.
Well, I mean, when people get confused or there's no answer for something, obviously that's when conspiracy theories come out. And the one that Antonio realized that it wasn't going to work there for whatever reason, and he did his best to go out knowing that New England would be sitting there for him, and he orchestrated the last few days. I mean, Chris Mortensen even reported from your former place of business. You're now with Fox Sports. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You bet that he sought out methods to get himself out through social media experts. Do you put any credence into the fact that he didn't want to be there anymore and fought his way out to New England?
I think as the way things ended up, it does seem a little bit that way. And here's what I base it on. He had a whole issue, with the helmet. I want to wear my old helmet. I can't find a helmet. This one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. I'm filing agreements with the NFL. All of a sudden, it goes through the problem with the GM and then, the tape. And then all of a sudden, okay, he's making all these noise about all of these different things. And then he gets his way out of Oakland. Then he goes to New England. Okay. So at that point, Zenith, the company, the helmet company, they decide to break ties with him. Have you heard anything about that helmet since?
No.
Like you would assume if he's mad about people who, chastise him or, for lack of a better word, or people who don't want to deal with him or that he doesn't like or, severs ties with him. What we've seen in the last 3 months, he lashes out. I haven't heard anything from him, from anybody in his camp about him having any problem with Zenith letting him go. And everything, he's in New England now, haven't heard a thing.
Well, maybe that just seems to normally happen with New England, right? That somebody else's, for the lack of a better phrase, problem player becomes a model citizen once they're in the Patriot Way system. I mean, you were there, you saw the Patriots. I mean, did you sense any boat rocking that was going on involving number 17, formerly 84, on that day when you personally were standing on the sidelines?
I didn't see anything remotely close to being out of order in New England. I mean, they walked out there on that field, and they were a well-oiled machine. And the most interesting thing to me is that I'm sitting there on the sideline, and the first, he didn't start the game, but he got in the second play, and they went to him, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 4 times
Right.
to get him the ball. And I remember turning around, talking to one of the producers, and I'm like, man, this is Bill Belichick putting the middle finger up to everybody out there that had a problem with Antonio Brown going into to New England. So I didn't see any problems. I know people were speculating or talking about how difficult the New England offense was, but I saw him run jet sweeps. I saw him run seam routes. I saw him motion. I saw him shifting, and I saw a guy who seemed like he was well versed in their offense. So I think there's something to it where he goes to New England and Brady brings them in, and they are going over the offense, and he's making sure that Antonio Brown is ready to go out there and play. And it looked like he had been there all training camp. So I didn't see, one iota of a problem with him being there. And I think, with everything that's going on, he's going to have a fantastic year with the New England Patriots because we haven't heard anything out of him.
Charles Woodson here on the Rich Eisen Show, fresh off again being in Miami for the Patriots-Dolphins game for, again, Epics tonight, 9 Eastern time for NFL The Grind. What about the Dolphins, Charles? I mean, so much conversation that players, veterans are asking their agents to get out because the team is flat out tanking. What the front office is doing, you can't argue with the fact that they are setting up for a 2020 draft despite there's still 14 games left in the 2019 season. You spoke with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Some of that video will be used tonight. What did you sense from this team, Charles?
Yeah, I looked at I was in the locker room, and I don't think guys know whether they're coming or going at this point. You go into the season, and you talk about a Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's a guy who played well for them, a draft pick of theirs. You don't think of him being a guy that's on the trading block. But, these things kind of seem to happen, when new coaching staffs come in or new GMs come in. Like, they come in, not really caring about who was there before them. And, guys are speculating that, oh, man, this team is thinking about rebuilding. And then, management or coaches will come out and say, no, we're not rebuilding. And then all of a sudden, Meek is traded. During the time that I was down there, a couple of days, Kenyon Drake was all of a sudden on the trading block, and they're stockpiling all of these draft picks. And sometimes I think as a player, you just want them to come out and say, "Hey, yeah, we are rebuilding." I mean, they're stockpiling a bunch of draft picks for next year and the years to come. So, this is a team right now, man. I think when I watched that game Sunday, they really came out fighting. I think they were embarrassed the first game of the season, obviously. Here come the defending world champs that just brought in another high-impact player to add to a team that was already rolling. And they went out there, man, and I really believe that they fought. But you know what, Rich? Sometimes you just run into a better team, and it was like a buzzsaw. They just, New England, what they do is they just systematically and methodically go down the football field, and they just put up points. And, you look up at one point in the game, and all of a sudden they have 30 points, and you have no clue where those points came from. So for the Miami Dolphins, the guys that are there, they're just going to have to fight through this period of time. I mean, this is going to be a rough season. I got a chance to, just speak to Xavier Howard. I spoke to him before the game and then also after the game, and I watched him play. They matched him up on Josh Gordon, and he played a fantastic game on Gordon. And my thing was to him, and this will be my message to the entire Dolphins team as well. You just got to put good film out there. I mean, you understand all of the noise that's surrounding the team, but you can never let that affect how you play as a person. Yeah, during the week, you think about it and you're sick and you're sore and you're hurt. But once you get in there between the lines on Sunday, man, you got to go out there and do your job. And Xavier is one guy that I watched closely during that game. He's not going to quit on the team. He's going to go out there and continue to try to put good film out there. And I think a lot of those guys are going to do it as well. But like you mentioned, right now nobody knows who's going to be on this team for the for the duration of this season or next season.
Before I let you go, your thoughts on Eli Manning getting benched? You're obviously played against him. You know him. And we assume he's going to be eventually in the same room you will be in Ohio one day. What do you think about the development to the Giants, Charles?
Yeah, I think this was a obvious move plan. I think once people saw young Daniel Jones in the preseason and the way he kind of slung it around, and then all of the praise that was kind of heaped on him, the way he came in and played in his preseason, I thought the writing was going to be on the wall if Eli didn't really come out and, really just – I think Eli was going to have to come light it up, for them not to make the change. But I'd rather it happen like it happened this time, a couple of weeks into the season. You got a new guy in that you're trying to evaluate and get him playing time and experience in the game. I didn't like the way they unceremoniously did it the last time, a couple of years ago, when they said, oh, well, he's not going to start, but we may play him later in the game. That I didn't agree with. But at this point in time, I think the writing was on the wall that they brought this young kid in here to play. And I think it was the obvious move, and I think it is going to be the right move for their team to see what they actually have in that building.
Charles, can't wait for people to see your work on Epics tonight at 9 Eastern Time on NFL The Grind. Good luck with Fox Sports, and I appreciate the care package I received here at the Rich Eisen Show studio. I open it up, and there's 2 new bottles of Charles Woodson's wine called Intercept. Great name. Love the name. Love it.
That's right.
And it tastes great, Charles. It's some fine juice you're making there, sir.
Well, I hope you didn't expect anything less, Rich.
Oh, come on now, Charles. I love raising a glass with you. You only know one. You only know one speed, Charles. I know that.
That's right. I look forward to raising a glass with you soon sometime.
I hope so. Charles, you're the best. We'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Rich. Go Blue.
You got it. Go Blue right back at you. That's Charles Woodson. Go at Charles Woodson on Twitter.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.